Trinidad and Tobago. Because the barnyard is also a sacred space. The barnyard is life. Life when people come together, and as such, we must treat it as centers of excellence, all the barnyards.
So guys, we're here today to recall the history of this very phenomenal organization we know as Skiffle. And with me is Nikki Dean on my left here, who is probably the most original member here with us. And then we have Hannah Fergus, Carl McLean, and Steve Hussein, who would have been in that very early period as Skiffle started. Nikki and I attended the very first meeting when we decided to form the steel band in December of 1973. The name of the band would have been Hoytonians, or Gay Hoytonians, that we started off as. And strange enough, we had a sponsor and a guy by the name of John Hoyton, a businessman. We had a treasurer and a fellow by the name of Box Edwards. We had a manager and a secretary in the name of Burke from Burke's Drugstore, I think it was. I was taken aback when I was appointed captain of the band because I was probably about 22 years old at the time. The band, one of the main person behind the band, the catalyst, was a guy called Luke Andre. And I thought Luke should have been the captain because it was Luke's idea to form this band. We had no rangers. So my neighbor at the time was a gentleman by the name of Vic Lange. So I asked Vic, as a well-known musician, I said, Vic, listen, we have a band struggling with some guys who don't know what they're doing. Come and help us. So Vic came, got involved with the band, and we played our first band on the tune was Miss Mary by Sparrow.
Yeah, well, we did a lot of block rolls, and there was a good point. We even played a small mass, and from there we started to get bigger and getting more into the panorama.
After Vic Lange, Tempo 75, the band needed a transition. And we wanted to get a repertoire of music. And in those days, I had a show on television, Thursday evening, steel band concert. And I wanted to take the band on steel band concert. So to go on steel band concert, you would have had to have a balanced repertoire. And I used to work at Port Spin night time with a guy called Renard Lewis. We both worked together in the same area. And in chatting one day, he mentioned that he was arranging for a band, the Port Contractors City Symphony. And I asked him if he wanted to come south and do these tunes. So he came down. And we did Romance, if you remember that, Canadian Sunset, if you remember that, Hannah, and a balanced repertoire of boleros and bossa nova, and Here Comes the Sun. Here Comes the Sun, which we did. So we had a repertoire to go to steel band concert. And in '76, I think it was a very good year for us when he arranged Flag Woman, and we crossed the Skinner Park stage with 63 players, 17 tenors. We went to pick the semi-final band. Skiffle bunch qualified for semi-finals. Coming out of that, Pancho Bigo decided to introduce rules and separate pan-round neck bands into conventional bands. One of the things about the band too, when we approached Lewis to arrange the band, it was a competition in Whitco Ground in January in Charlotte. It was a bomb competition. So we said, well, look at that bomb competition, we have to get a bomb. So what are we going to play? Hallelujah Chorus. So the calypso choice was Flag Woman and the bomb was Hallelujah Chorus. So in those days that was shocking, but nobody expected a pan-round neck band to play Hallelujah Chorus. You know what? We made the front page next day at the Guardian. Front, the whole spread. Because this is
Julian moving.
Yeah, a little pan-round neck band playing Hallelujah Chorus. That was another phenomenal experience. And we continued that trend. And the good thing about it, up to this day, we still play Hallelujah Chorus. In those days, I mean, few bands played Hallelujah Chorus. Anytime a choir wanted to play Hallelujah Chorus, they found us. We played Maridas Choir, Lydian Southerners. Which choir we didn't play that with? We played for Desmond Tutu when he came to Trinidad.
All best villages.
Yeah. We were invited to the airport to play for the arrival of
Miss Jamaica.
Miss Jamaica, so one of those queens.
Universal something.
And at that function, the sponsor, there was a falling out, I think it was, with the sponsor and the management of the band. We went to Vistabella, where my grandmother's Baptist church, because we had some money. And we said we'll continue the band. So we bought pans, colored pans, and started preparing the band. He's not the first person who tuned those bands first. Nicky, I will test your memory here now. Do you remember?
What?
Bertie Marshall. What was interesting too is that when we moved the band, we had nowhere to go. And my grandmother had this Baptist church, and those of you who know the religion, always adjacent to the Baptist church, there will be a morning room, always. So I decided to put the band there and practice on a Tuesday and a Thursday. So, and we had the band hanging from
Rafters.
And rafters from Marling, all the pants from Marling, and all, like how you have rafters across there, across the room. So you don't have to hang up no pants, the pants hanging there. It was amazing. And so the Thursday night we would jam in flag woman in the morning room, and somebody told my grandmother, she came down. And she threatened me, so we had to move the band. So what my grandmother said, we had to leave the church, we couldn't stay there. Time to go, because her exact words, like you know Baptist people, well, she's going to get affliction, whatever that means. So we move up the hill to at the corner by Nicky's mother-in-law. Nicky's mother-in-law said she'll give us a space under the house. But while we're not there, the chickens and the fowl slept there. So when you come in on mornings next day, you have to dust the pan off, you know, of the droppings from the chicken. So it was a little disturbing. So we got a melody rack from Gay Philadelphia, I think it was. We put it outside the blue shop under the mango tree. And we rehearsed under the mango tree for months. The following carnival, Teachers Union hired us to perform at a fete that they had and advertised us as Gay Hoytonians. But we foolishly were continuing under the same name, Gay Hoytonians. And I received a legal letter of using his name and using Hoytonian's name, and he will take us to court, meaning Judy, myself, and Glenn. We didn't know what to do, so we called a well-known young lawyer who had just made a jail by the name of Ramesh Maharaj. So we called Ramesh Maharaj to the panyard and said, listen, we have a problem here. There's a name at stake. We build that as our name, and we want to go forward. That is not their name. They are the Mockingbirds, we are the Hoytonians. So Ramesh listened to us. He said, what if you all made a name for yourself in a short space of time? Why don't you make a next name? And all sorts of names came forward. And then the word skiffle came out because of its meaning. And then God said, whatever it is, it must have bunch to it. I said, why bunch? He said, because we stuck together like a bunch of grapes and nobody could separate us. That's how we became Skiffle Bunch. And while rehearsing there one day, we were playing the same romance. A gentleman by the name of Robert Montano, who lived at Montano Hill, up at Sumart Garden there, sat in his porch and listening to this song, and followed the song all the way up to Jarvis Street, parked his 280C, smoking his pipe, and we practiced about 2 hours, because we liked to practice in those days. And when we finished, he came across, asked him to introduce to the band, and he said if we needed a sponsor. We said yes. And he agreed to sponsor the band, and the band became Imperial Skiffle Bunch. And then he organized for us to get jackets. We had maroon jackets and cream pants out their colors, and played in all the functions for a while. The good thing about that is that Robert Montano was president of the South Chamber, and when Dr. Williams came to San Fernando, he mandated the business people to support steel bands. And that was in 1977. There was a function at what was then File House Hotel. And once he got that official mandate from the then Prime Minister, he decided that he will get TCL to sponsor the band. And we started a relationship that went for almost 20 years. I think we owe Mr. Montano a debt of gratitude. So we talked in 1978 here, and we stayed with Mr. Montano all the while until 1980 something, I think it was. Yeah, 88 or 90, somewhere around there. And when we parted ways.
And those days, girls was always looked frowned upon the ladies to be playing pandas in the 70s.
So we were out there and people, it was a novelty for them and for us to see these girls and this band playing music.
Well dressed.
Nice girls in front line.
Just not just ordinary people who were in the employment system and were professional to an extent. So we always had that image about us. So we were very, I should say, avant-garde in our approach to uniform and strict about that.
And we used to raise funds by having cake sales on High Street Saturday morning. Cake sale, to everything.
With a performance.
Yes.
With a performance.
And then on Christmas time, the children in the area, we will have treats for them, give them gifts and all of that. And I experienced going to some of the Caribbean countries.
We formed in 76, and by 77 we made our first tour. In spite of our challenges, we went to St. Vincent, and we stayed at a fellow named Bobby Brisbane's hotel. So Bobby arranged for us to go down Beckway. Now Beckway was Princess Margaret and them and Mick Jagger and the celebrities have the houses. So we go on down Beckway. On our way down Beckway, they had a storm like what happened to the people in the Bocas from Venezuela. The first I ever see a boat tilt on the side and coming and going from side to side. I never had a ball so in my life.
We were downstairs playing cards, and this way just come and just take a card out, fly upstairs and falling all over the place. It was an old room. Can't figure that. It was scary. It was scary.
That was 1977. And we started doing the Caribbean. The following year we went to Grenada, I think it was. Somebody went to the gate, I was Trinidad Steel Band, and he sent the security to call me and invited us to dinner at his home. So we deck off and we suit from Imperials, maroon jacket and cream pants and gold, and hanging out with the president, with the prime minister. Prime Minister Gary fall in love with the band. So Gary invited us back. we also did Barbados. We did Curry Festa in Barbados in 1981. And my children who were here this morning, all of them have been involved with the band in one way. Mandy also toured with the band. We were in Spain, Germany, England, Belgium. Mandy was always toured with us a little bit because, and that was their mascot. Mandy was selling CD and thing all on while the band played, walking out the band, telling me, you want to see one Skiffle? as a little girl, so she was playing her part,
I went on tour with them, I believe it was 1992. I was 13 years old. And because my talents weren't in playing, I think I got the great job of actually selling the albums that they had. They sold it in CD format or in cassette format, and I remember the CDs sold out. It was an amazing experience for that age.